Welcome to video 24, assembling the prop shafts. This was very satisfying. It is lovely to assemble clean parts. I'm laying all the parts out. Now I did leave a few marks on these parts with the angle grinder to make sure I had the right bits in the right place. These things are balanced as an assembly from the factory, and you can see plates of steel on the long shaft of the prop shaft. Those are balanced from the factory, so I need to get them all in as they came out. So this is how you assemble a prop shaft, a universal joint. You put the universal joint in from the middle, and the cups obviously go on from the outside. You can squeeze them in with a vise like this, nice and easy. Always make sure that that universal joint is nice and loose in the middle, it's not catching on any of the internal bearing. Obviously there comes a point now where you have to push it further in, so I'm using a socket here to push that further in. It's not the end of the world actually if you go too far with this. There'll come a point where you're clamping so hard on the universal joint in the middle that even though it's got radial bearings, there's no axial bearings, so it'll tighten up. But actually all you've got to do is pinch the entire assembly again. The black part will bend in and it will bring the cups back out, which is quite satisfying. Here you go, I'm pushing those cups further in to try and get them in just the right place, where they're not too tight, but where I can get the circlip in. So I think, yeah, that's one side done, and this is the second side now. And then I will work on the next joint. Sorry, I'll work on the other half of this joint. So this is the next, is it a yoke, I think? Squeeze those in just as before. I've got this one misaligned actually, so I've had to put it in the vise and straighten it up, and now it goes in much more easily. Look. You see I'm still checking that there's free movement, that it's not damaging those internal bearings as it gets squeezed together. So pushing those in again, and I learned towards the end of this you can actually put the circlip in before and then squeeze it in, and you can hear the click. You might hear it now. There we go. That was the little click where the circlip found its seat. And then here we go on the other side again. So that's now got 4 circlips, 1 universal joint is done. Quite a bit of work really. There's the circlip not in place, look, it's not clicked in yet. And then this is the click, listen. There we go. And now you'll see the circlip has expanded and it's sat in its groove. It's bigger than it looked before, look. Well, the gap is bigger, you see. There you go, circlip in place. So that had to be done 4 times. The next thing is the expanding joint, the joint which allows these prop shafts to get longer and shorter, which is, you just slide it together, but there's a seal on it. So there's it looks like a leather seal, and then a retaining, almost looks like a washer, but it's something you can take apart. And then that nut, that black painted part, lower shot. But I want to put some gaiters on those. So the gaiter has to go on first, obviously. Then those sliding joints can go together with there's the seal going on now, look. So that's the washer, if you like, but it's a split washer so you can get it on. That's the nut, and then there's a seal inside of that, which I'm squeezing in there now. And then the joint can go together. And then you tighten that nut down and it pulls the whole thing together. So it can still move, but dirt can't get in there. So there we go. Those 2 prop shafts are now restored. These are GKN prop shaft universal joints, and the original props balanced, so this ought to be the best way of doing it really. So those painted and finished props can go on the vehicle now. I'm very pleased with that. It is very satisfying to get these crusty, rusty old parts and have them essentially brand new sat in front of you on the bench. The next thing, there's a couple of things to put together here. The gear stick goes into its little cup, and there's a spring and a big washer to go in there, and then a enormous circlip which retains the whole lot. Then it bolts onto the bracket, which bolts onto the gearbox, so that's nice and easy. The transfer box lever's done. So this is the handbrake. This took some taking apart, and it didn't take quite so much getting back together, but it was a bit of an awkward thing. In hindsight, perhaps I just should have masked up the button and sprayed it, but it's all nice and new and fresh. So new washers to freshen it up, and new split pins as well. And then this connection here, I've managed to find a bit of shaft that just dropped in there, and I hammered the hell out of it, which recreated the original. That's how the original one was in there, so I'm quite pleased with that really. It was just pot luck that I've managed to find a bit of shaft to go in there. So that is it, folks. I'm going to leave it there with that very frustrating image of my hands holding the handbrake. The next video shows it all going on. Thank you very much for watching. Tune in again, more progress to come.